Indeed, the Lord is our healer. And that is why we hear and we listen to such wonderful teachings, and then we depend on God to heal us.
Hey, now we are here. Hey, now we are here.
Long time to see Ghana ready.
The Bible says His word will not return void.
Long time to see Ghana ready. Long time to see Ghana ready.
God's word in the name of Jesus is more powerful than cancer, heart disease, or any disease that you can name today. So
we want to remind you that your health, our concern, is brought to you by our proud sponsors, Worship Series Publications. They have religious and moral education books for JHS pupils. And as the government is preparing to make sure that all our JHS students get back to their learning spree, do your best to gather this book for JHS 1, JHS 2, JHS 3. They have textbooks, workbooks, and past questions as well. And you can contact them on 0244 681942 or 0504 681942. We also want to encourage you on Men's Do Bisab. Men's Do Bisab in the local name, you know, a symbol, but this is a special symbol that builds your immune system. Not just that, but it's also very good for a happy occasion. And so for weddings, for parties, and for funerals as well, and even as a family, for personal relaxing, you need some liquid thing to make sure that your night or day is going good. You can contact Men's Do Bisab to supply you with such a wonderful drink. You can contact them on 0264 000 360 or 0244 855 558. And finally, fast pack delivery services. Fast pack delivery services. You can contact them if you want to. Contact them to pick your item, to post it, or you want them to pick your item from the post office, VIP station, to bring them to you in their various homes. You can contact them. Any other delivery services that you want across the country, they will be ready to help you, like laundry services, express, domestic, and corporate pickup delivery, parcel delivery, grocery delivery. Contact them on 054 5596 334. 054 5596 334. Doc, you're welcome once again.
Thank you very much.
Just as we said, we are grateful to God. We thank God for your life. I'm sure this evening you have a lot for us. But just as we are hoping for the Lord to hear us, I want us to listen to this song from our brother Eric. Heal me, Lord. Heal me, Lord. To give you the opportunity to prepare yourself so that when you roll on, there will be no break. The Lord is indeed our healer.
Lord, I believe you are healer.
We started from stroke and we went on to hypertension. We believe that all those who suffered from all this, the Lord is healing you.
Lord, I believe you are healer. Yes, I believe you can heal. Long time to see I'm gonna ready.
hey, now we are here.
Yes, I believe you are healer. Yes, I believe you can heal. So long time to see I'm gonna ready. Long time to see I'm gonna ready.
All right, welcome once again. As you always do, before Doc will come on, we want to still encourage our viewers and listeners that coronavirus is still with us. Please don't forget. Even though as it stands now, Ghana, we have 801 active cases. That is what we have at the Ghana Health Service website. But please don't forget, contact tracing is not effective as it used to be. That means that there are other cases we do not know, especially you. You could be here or listening to us being affected with this virus. But please do well to stay home and also obey all the various protocols that the Ghana Health Service has given us. Very, very important. This evening, we are going to talk about diabetes. A very scary, whether it's a disease or illness or whatever it is, very, very scary. Very, very scary. I just got to know that between 1920 and 2016, it has killed more than 140 million people. So serious, 140 million people. And I'm sure you don't want to get yourself into such trauma. And so this evening, Doc is here to help us to know more about diabetes and how we can treat ourselves and also take care of ourselves, because your health is our concern. Dr. Irene, welcome.
Thank you.
Please, what do you have for us this evening?
So we are going to discuss diabetes.
Okay.
So when we say diabetes is when there's chronic high blood sugar, also with insulin resistance or insulin deficiency. So insulin is a hormone that is produced by one of the organs called the pancreas.
Okay.
And it's sort of a storage hormone. So insulin is produced when you take in carbohydrates, fat, protein, but it's mainly sort of so it pushes anything that your body does not use immediately into storage.
Okay.
So when there's no insulin, the body thinks that it means you don't have enough sugar in your blood. So then it produces extra sugar.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Or when there's
So
no
it's like
insulin,
a bank, something like that.
it's not a bank. It pushes. I don't know how to put it. It detects whether there's no sugar,
Okay.
and then if there's so much and you've used some, the rest it pushes it into storage.
Okay.
So it's mainly for carbohydrates though, but it also works when there's protein and then there's fat. So when you take in carbohydrates, every carbohydrate turns into sugar. Every carbohydrate. So the yam you eat turns into sugar. Plantain,
Okay.
potatoes,
Okay.
everything turns into sugar. So usually what we say is, let's say if you are eating rice pudding, rice is going to turn into sugar. Porridge, and then you put sugar in it as well. It means you are doubling your sugar, sort of. So every carbohydrate turns into sugar. So when you add sugar to carbohydrates, it means you've increased the sugar content. Fruits contain sugar. So when you are eating fruit salad and then you put sugar into it again, that means you are increasing your sugar. So the little that your body needs, let's say if you are not a very active person and you take, let's say, 20 grams of sugar, maybe your body just needs about 2 grams. After using the 2 grams, the rest, the insulin will push it into storage as fat. And then the same way it will push, let's say, the rest of the protein you don't need into your body as protein, as muscle and all that. So that is the work of insulin.
Okay.
And that is what pancreas produces. Now we have 2 main kinds of diabetes. We have type 1 and then type 2.
Okay.
As I said the last time, anything that we say is primary or type 1, a lot of the time, though we may know how it comes about, maybe, but we may not know the specific thing that is causing it for us to remove it. In this case, type 1, we do know, but we don't know why it is happening. So the autoimmune means that it is something that normally your body should see as normal, but then suddenly your body recognizes it as foreign, so it fights it by producing antibodies against it, as if some disease has come into your body. And it causes that. So your body starts, so it's an autoimmune disease, and then the beta islet cells are destroyed. So when they are destroyed, your body cannot produce insulin.
Wow.
So those people need insulin. In medicine, we call it exogenous insulin. You need insulin to be brought to that person. So that's when we give the insulin medication. Okay. So that is type 1, and it usually happens in children as young as 5 years and all that.
So you know,
it happens in the
type 1 in children. Does it have a? You mentioned childhood detection. Does it have an age group that they can develop that, or even an infant, just the one?
Oh, the one, I'm not sure.
Okay.
I know. No, I don't. I can't stick my neck out and say I don't think so. But But it happens in early childhood. Like I've seen a 6-year-old, 5-year-old,
diabetes.
Yeah. So usually it happens in children or young people. So before the age of, let's say, 35, it's likely to be type 1 diabetes. Around the age of, but it depends. There are some children who also develop type 2 because they are very, very obese. So type 2 diabetes is found, it usually happens in the elderly, older age. It used to happen in the elderly, let's say above the age of 70, thereabouts. But of course, as I said, it's coming down. And it's brought on by obesity. It's brought on most of the time by obesity. And then also, mainly that. So the last time I talked about what we call the metabolic syndrome. Where you have a lot of things coming together to cause a certain kind of disease. So one of them is obesity. One of them is central obesity, and then central obesity is when the person is not fat, but the trunk or the belly is big.
It's big,
Then we have when you have high cholesterol, you have insulin resistance or insulin deficiency, and then hypertension. And then these all can come together and then push you into diabetes as well. Or if you have hypertension, these all can sort of push you into diabetes and then end up with stroke and all those things. So when somebody is very, very fat or obese, the person has the tendency to develop type 2 diabetes. And then when somebody has central obesity alone, that person has a tendency to develop diabetes. So we have to strive to keep our bellies flat. And also,
you know, you will come there. So how to do that? I'll not let you start now, but
we have to strive to keep our bellies flat, and then we have to strive to keep our weight down. So most of the time, anybody who is big, the person is likely to have all these things that come together to form the metabolic syndrome. Even though slim people too can have it. So the type 2 is not because the beta islet cells have been destroyed, but it's those people are actually producing insulin. But the sometimes breaking it down to normal English is difficult. But so the hormone insulin attaches to something we call receptors. And once, so let's say a socket, you have to plug in, let's say a computer. Then it will realize that electricity is coming through it. It has to pick the signals for electricity before it comes on. So the insulin also attaches to the receptor, and then it's supposed to tell the body that insulin has been attached, so let me work the way insulin wants me to work. But unfortunately, in type 2 diabetes, it attaches, but the recognition is low. So for them, a lot of the time, we give them certain drugs that will also push the glucose into storage to help the insulin. It may not necessarily be insulin. Or or it will force the body to use up some of the glucose.
Okay.
Because if the body is not recognizing that the insulin is there, then it will say, oh, if there's no insulin, then it means that the person needs glucose, so let me produce more glucose.
Okay.
That is why I'm saying diabetes, the definition for diabetes is chronic high blood sugar in the presence of insulin deficiency when there's no insulin, so the type 1 or insulin resistance. So that is type 1 and type 2 diabetes. Yeah.
You mentioned that we should try as much as we can to flatten our belly. You want to explain that to us? And which people are you referring to? Is it both ladies and gents?
Or everyone.
Okay.
It doesn't matter who you. I mean, once you're a human being.
So how do you do that? Is it that you stop eating a certain kind of food, or what exactly do you mean?
So as I said, with the metabolic syndrome, you have high cholesterol, so you have to cut down on your cholesterol. Then you have high hypertension. You are likely to get hypertension. You have to cut down on the things that will make you hypertensive. If you are smoking, you stop. Alcohol, you stop.
Okay.
Cut down on your salt intake.
Okay.
Exercise.
Hey, when's the salt and sugar?
No, I'm just saying you have to just avoid the metabolic syndrome.
Okay.
In general, yes. And then you have to cut down on your sugar, the sugar intake. The thing is, insulin, even if you are normal, insulin is being produced. But why give it so much for it to work on? You understand me? Insulin is being produced. Let's say God has created as such that insulin produced should work on, let's say, about 10 grams of sugar a day. Or maybe 2 grams of sugar a day or something. This is not a scientific. Nobody should quote me on the grams. It's just an example.
Yeah.
Because I didn't really check how much the body needs a day.
Okay.
Yes. So maybe God has asked the body to work, the insulin to work on, let's say, 2 grams sugar a day. But you are eating so much carbohydrate and so much sugar. So you are giving the body too much work.
Okay.
So you have to cut down on that as well, so that it will function at its maximum. Yes. And then so mainly it's exercise actually.
Okay.
And then eating late. So when we get to management, I'll talk about some new researches that people are doing.
Okay.
So mainly, how do we see that we have diabetes? Most likely the person would end up urinating a lot. The person will be urinating a lot, and most of the time people sleep throughout the night and maybe wake up once to urinate or twice to urinate. This person may end up waking up more than that, so many times to urinate. During the day, if the person is not drinking so much water, they realize that they are peeing a lot. Of course, if you are drinking a lot of water, you bring out a lot. As I said, anything that your body does not need, it will bring it out if it has the ability to bring it out. Yes, so if you drink lots and lots of water and your kidneys are functioning normally, the body will take what it needs and then bring the rest out. So if you are drinking so much water. But if you are somebody who is not really drinking so much water and you are peeing, you have to.
There could be a danger somewhere.
See, it may also be urinary tract infection. It may be if you are a man, you have a prostate condition. But it has to be checked. It may not be normal. Okay. And then if you also are thirsty all the time.
Thirsty all the time?
Yeah. If you are drinking water all right, but you realize that it didn't used to be like this. Now I'm thirsty all the time. I'm hungry all the time, yet I'm eating. Then it may also be diabetes. So most of the time, too much urination or too many frequent urinations doesn't mean that if you are urinating so many times and it's very small, it can't be diabetes.
Oh, okay.
Most of the time, the urine is a lot.
Okay.
Because the sugar is now going into your kidneys and your urine, so it is drawing the water, osmosis. It is drawing the water with it. So it may even be taking the water that you need.
Oh, okay.
So instead of your body using up the water it needs, that sugar is drawing out the water that you need as well. So you are producing too much urine. So plenty urine, the volume is high plus the frequency.
Now, this one, does it apply to the type 1 only or both?
For both.
Both type
For
1
both.
and type 2?
Yeah.
Okay.
For both.
So that the frequency in urinating Not only at night, but even the day.
Even the day, and then the volume, and then increased taste, and then increased hunger.
The increase doesn't mean that no matter the amount of water the person takes in 1 hour time, is still calling for water.
Yes, the person is drinking and urinating all the time.
So people say that, oh, maybe between so it might not necessarily be between so, but there's something behind it.
Well, the person, if it's type 1, most of the time they lose a lot of weight. So another thing, okay, so let me explain. I'll try to explain.
Okay.
So I said the insulin is a storage hormone. So it makes the body use the amount of glucose or the sugar it needs, then pushes the rest into storage. Okay. So the first lesson here is that fat is not from eating fat.
Okay.
Or becoming obese is not from eating fat, it's from eating too much carbohydrate and sugar. Because the insulin will push it into storage as fat. Okay. Now, when there is no insulin or the insulin is not functioning, then the body, so the liver stores some of the excess glucose as what we call glycogen.
Okay.
At the same time, it's also able to use protein and fat, excess protein and fat, and then to form glucose. So the first thing that happens is when your body detects that you are not eating enough carbs for it to produce energy, the liver will release the glycogen and break it down to sugar for you to use. Now, when that is finished, the one that is stored by the liver too is finished, then it will go and pick fat, and then protein, and convert it into glucose, because glucose is sort of the main fuel that the body uses to make glucose for you to produce energy, so that you can walk about and all that. So when in type 1, for instance, when there's no insulin deficiency, because the fat is being broken down into glucose, fat is being broken down into glucose, you realize that the person is losing weight because the fat stored now fine is being used. You understand that bit? Okay. So for them, most of the time they are very slim. By the type 2, because they are obese, and the problem is not the insulin deficiency, but it's the usage of the extra glucose, the glucose in the system. Their fat is not really broken down. I hope you understand that.
I get you.
But when we come to complications, then I'll continue with that one.
Yeah, that's good. I understand that you have a lot of things to share. So yes, please continue with the next thing you want to share.
So type 1, they are usually very slim. They look very sick. Some even present, when you see them, you think they are like HIV patients or cancer patients who have lost weight. But when you take their sugar and all those things, then you realize that it's actually the diabetes, because they are just breaking down their fats, and they are sick because the sugar is so high and they have no insulin to work on it. And those are the people that you have to give, they have to use insulin every day. They have to inject themselves every day. Yes.
This happen between the age of 6 and 35.
Yeah, so the parents have to be injecting them. So it's a very expensive disease for very poor people, because the insulin is not that cheap. And every day the person has to use it to be able to survive.
God have mercy.
Yeah.
And the person have to survive with this, if let's say it was detected at the age of 6.
Yeah, it's true. It's your whole life. So there are certain scientists are trying to see if they can do pancreas transplants. They've started. But the thing with any kind of transplant is that because it is not your body, it's not from your body. They have to keep taking some medications so that the body does not see it as foreign and fight it, the way I explained. Yes. So even for kidney transplant, if you are on, I hear that the longest time a foreign kidney in your body can stay without you changing it is 5 to 10 years. So if you get how do you call it, a kidney transplant every 5 years, if you are lucky and your body doesn't reject the kidney, every 5 years you have to be looking, or every 5 to 10 years you have to be looking to change it.
So
change
every 10 years.
The thing is, we have to take extra care of ourselves so that we don't get there. But of course, type 1 diabetes is not their fault. It's not their fault because it happens.
I'm sure maybe we will come to the causes, even though you say that. I don't know if we should go there before.
Yeah,
you mentioned that you did not know the. Of course, you have been able to identify this is type 1, but you do not really know what caused.
Yeah, we don't really know why the body is fighting the islet cells, the pancreas, and destroying the islet cells that produce the insulin. So, though we know that it's the islet cells that are being destroyed, we don't know why. That's what I'm saying.
Could it be that during the development of the baby in the womb, there could be a mistaken kind of development somewhere?
Well, scientists haven't been able to say so I can't really say. Yeah. So,
but it could be genetic as well.
Yeah, it's yeah.
Okay.
It's genetic. For both kinds of diabetes, there's a familial inheritance sort of.
Okay.
If there's somebody in your family that has had it, the probability that their children will also have it is there. But it shouldn't deter you also from having children, because it's not 100% or that once you have it, your children will have it. But there's a high probability that they will have it.
Wow.
So they're like the last time, the risk factors are some of the things I've said we should try to avoid with the metabolic syndrome.
Yeah.
So if you have a family history of diabetes, cut down on your sugar and your carbs. Don't give your body too much to work on. That is it. And don't put your body in overdrive. So all the time, as in all the time, there's so much sugar in your system that your body has to work on. That's what I'm saying. So cut down the fufu. I mean, fufu, huge fufu.
Hey, doc, what's up ahead of you, doc?
So maybe a small amount.
Small amount of fufu.
Eat more vegetables, because vegetables contain some carbohydrates, but it's not so much.
Okay.
And some protein. Maybe if it's soup, take more of the soup, because
of the soup.
there's very little carbohydrates in soup, or no carbohydrates at all.
Okay.
So maybe a little bit of fufu. So you eat fufu, then after that you go and eat, let's say, plantain chips or something. Then after that you eat ice cream.
We are now
with sugar. You understand? And then morning, afternoon, evening. So maybe you've exceeded the amount that your body needs a day. So it means there's so much sugar in your system. It may be pushed to fat storage or something, but it's still too much for your body. So don't put your body in overdrive. Basically, that's what I'm saying.
Before you move on, if somebody has been practicing this bad habit for, let's say, at the age of 10 to 35, and now listening to you, and the person don't want to make a U-turn and stop this kind of practices, does the person still have a tendency of developing diabetes, and when the person even stops at all, are there any consequences in trying to stop all these practices?
Oh, there are no consequences. Everything, the person cannot just stop one day. It's a gradual process. So you have to do it gradually till you get used to it. It's not, it's not something that you can just stop abruptly. Because you realize that even those who stop sugar, so there's something we call sugar addiction. People really get addicted to sugar. So they stop taking proper sugar, but you realize that they yearn for sweet things. So fruits, ripe plantain and all those things, you yearn for it all the time because it's sweet. So it's a sugar addiction that you gradually, your body gradually realizes that you are not taking extra sugar. So you cut down gradually. Then some people say feed your sugar addiction with fruit. So you are not really taking the sugar itself, but you are eating sweet things, and then gradually that one too, you can cut down on it, but you don't have to stop, because fruit is natural and it has all the nutrients that you need. So the thing with fruit is that so every food has what we call the glycemic index. That is how quickly it raises the blood sugar. So for diabetics or anybody at all who wants to live a healthy life, you have to eat things that have a low glycemic index. That is, I think, below 55. This one you have to read and research to know which foods. The only problem is that we don't have our foods readily available online for us to know their glycemic indices. Okay, but there are certain foods that the white people eat that we also eat that they've researched into. So there are some, especially the fruits. So something like watermelon, for instance, it's not too sweet. It has a lot of water, but unfortunately the glycemic index is very high. It's about, some I've checked, some say 82, some say 70 something. The normal that is good for our bodies is less than 55.
Oh, really?
So watermelon, you can eat it, but don't eat too much of it because it spikes the sugar quickly. Wheat, for instance, spikes the sugar quickly. So it's like 100 meters. You have to start quickly. Do you get it? So it means that whoever is running the 100 meters has to be ready to start quickly. But insulin and our bodies don't respond that way. So glycemic, the main reason for the taking low glycemic index foods is that you have to allow it releases sugar slowly so that your body can also work on it slowly.
Let me give this. I think for those who are not getting it, just like you're driving car, you cannot start with gear 5. The engine will stop. You have to start slowly. Gear 1. So if you want to take that, anything that will spike it, you're causing harm to your body. Good.
So some of the foods are like that. So some will go to the extra length and say there's also the glycemic load. How much would cause that spike is also important, but I think that is a bit difficult to quantify. So if you just know the glycemic index of your food, then you choose it. So apparently sweet potato, for instance, has a lower glycemic index than the Irish potato. The French fries that we buy. Sweet potato that we eat here, that is sweet. You think that because it's sweet, it has more sugar. But unfortunately, that is has a better glycemic index than the French fries that we buy. Because the French fries contains a lot of starch. I think the sweet potato, the starch is a little low. And any food that is boiled has a lower glycemic index than any food that is fried. And then any food that is anything that is made into powder form has a higher glycemic index than when it's not into powder form. So I mean, for this one I can't tell you. Maybe another time we can invite a nutritionist, but I think you can just Google it and see. So for me, I try to choose. Sometimes it's not easy. I try to choose that, but I've heard that some of them have very low glycemic indices. But I once asked the nutritionist to give me a list of our foods that have that, but I haven't been able to receive it. So when I get it, maybe I can share it. But
let's continue with whatever you still want to share with us.
So I said the risk factors are obesity. You have to try to avoid that. Smoking, alcohol, sedentary lifestyle, not moving at all. You have to move. You have to exercise. And to eating too much sugar. And then if you also have hypertension, you have to watch your diet generally.
I've also heard about people eating frequently or frequently getting hungry. Can also that be a symptom of diabetes?
It's one of the symptoms. As I said, you are hungry all the time, you are thirsty all the time, and you are producing a lot of urine and urinating.
And also the sauce, right? That's also another thing. The sauce that does not go easily.
Salt.
So
those are some of the complications of diabetes.
That's complications.
So the metabolic syndrome affects the blood vessels. So if you have hypertension, it affects the blood vessels, causing the stroke and other things. So it can affect your blood vessels, what we call the peripheral blood vessels, your hands and then your feet. And it will reduce the blood flow to your feet. So when it does that, it also affects the nerves. And it gets to a point you are not getting adequate blood flow to your feet, and then you are not getting, your nerves too are not functioning well. So when something pricks you, for instance, you might not see it, and because of the sugar too has reduced your immunity. So healing will become a problem. And then, so we always tell diabetics to not allow people to cut their
nose.
if they can't do it themselves, they should let somebody who can see do it, so that the person is not pinching their skin and all those things. Don't do those pedicures that people walk about and do, for instance, because those things are not sterilized. And then they have to be checking their toes and their feet very often, every day. Check and see whether something has pricked you and you didn't see it or you didn't feel it. Yes. And then aside that, the person may not have been pricked, but because the blood flow there is reduced, the feet will start dying, sort of, and it becomes so we call it a diabetic foot. Either it becomes ulcerated, or you see that it's becoming black because there's no blood flow there. If there's no blood flow there, it dies.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
No, you see, the danger aspect here is that, you know, people don't go to the hospital to do checkup, so they might have it, but they don't know until they develop these sores and cuts.
Yeah. So that's why I'm saying it's good to once in a while do a checkup. Queues are a bit difficult in the hospital, but you once in a while you have to do a checkup, especially if you are somebody who is above, let's say, 40 years thereabouts. You have to do your checks once in a while.
Let's continue with the complications.
So it can also affect the eyes.
Yeah,
same as hypertension, it can also affect the eyes. So an eye check, they will look behind your eye. They have a machine that looks behind the eye that we see inside, and then they see that it has an effect on the blood vessels. As I said, diabetes can also lead you to hypertension because of metabolic diabetes. So those are the things that I treat. Those people come in very, very sick. They may be in coma, or they may be acting abnormally.
Diabetes.
Or not acting abnormally like shouting but as in they will be altered. So they will be confused. Confused or in coma. Because the sugar is extremely high. So for especially those who need the insulin, the insulin deficiency or type 1, there are some type 2s that also come with this coma that I'm talking about. So we have three main kinds of comas, but 2 of them have to do with high sugar, and 1 has to do with very low sugar. Very low sugar. So normally when you use the glucose machine to check your sugar should be between 3.4 and 6.4. When you haven't eaten, when you wake up in the morning, that should be your normal sugar. When you have eaten and let's say 2 hours have elapsed, and you check your sugar should be between 7 and 11. That should be the normal for anybody. So when I wake up in the morning, if I am not diabetic, I should wake up and see sugar between 3.4 and 6.4.
But there's a tool to check that, right?
There's a small glucose machine. The glucometer.
People can get it anywhere in the pharmacies or something.
Oh, it's available.
And
then if I have eaten, or if you have eaten throughout the day and you come to the hospital and we check, you should at least be less than 11. But if you consistently get a blood sugar of above 7 when you haven't eaten, it means you are diabetic. But even then, we don't just get up and say, oh, you are diabetic. Sometimes there are certain tests that we do just to confirm. But we test a lot of things. We also, just like the blood pressure that you have to check for some days for us to be sure that it has remained high, we also do the glucose test every day. So when you check, you haven't eaten in the morning, you wake up, you haven't eaten, and you check consistently and it's above 7, then
you're in danger.
And then you have those other symptoms that I talked about. So we put a lot of things together. It's not just one check and then we say is diabetes.
No, the other, you mentioned coma and also behave. Is it that? Can we say that people become so sensitive and then easily get angry?
It's not something that it goes on for days.
Oh,
one day the person is there, and for the whole week the person has become sensitive, is crying all the time or something. No. Coma, the person is unconscious. So you will bring the person to the hospital, or you realize that the person is not, I don't know how to put it, but the person is confused and unwell. So it's not like something has happened, he has heard something, he has become confused. So, but of course, some of these things can also push your sugar high, can push your blood pressure high, and all those things.
But the reason I ask is that I know some 2 women with the type 2, and it's like when you are talking with them, trying to explain things to them, you have to be very careful. If not, they will take the whole thing differently. That's what I was asking.
It's not a behavioral thing. It's something that happens, and then you see that this is not normal. You take the person to hospital. We manage the sugar. The person becomes normal.
Okay.
It's not something that's
that's good. That's good.
Yeah. So the low sugar is called hypoglycemia. Low glycemia. And if it is less than, for any diabetic, if you are diabetic, if it is less than 3.4, you are, if it is less than 4, you can develop hypoglycemia. But for a normal person, less than 3, we should be worried because it can kill you easily.
Yeah, because look, it's very important what we are talking about. The World Health Organization says the 7th deadliest disease or illness, whatever you call it, in the world right now. So it's very important that we are taking notice of this whole thing. It's very important.
So if it goes below, if people have come to the hospital, their sugar is 1. Sometimes it is unrecordably low. We can't even record with the machine. Those people are sort of on their way. It can kill you. So the treatment is simple. You just give the person sugar. Because the body, it is low sugar. They don't have sugar in their system. So we just give them sugar and they come back up. So it's just sugar.
Just any sugar.
No, so we usually give them dextrose.
Okay.
When they come and they are talking, and we realize that they are talking, maybe they are confused and it's low sugar and they can drink, we can give them Fanta or Coke or something like that.
Okay.
Because they don't have sugar in their system.
Okay.
And immediately they become normal. Even those who are in coma, when they come and the sugar is very low, as soon as we give the sugar, they wake up and they ask, hey, where am I? So that one is one of the...
Wow.
That one is like magic.
Wow.
But the hyperglycemia, the 2 that I said have to do with very high sugar. We have one that usually happens in the type 1 or those who need the insulin, and then the type 2. So the one in the type 1, we call it the DKA for short because it has a long name, diabetic ketoacidosis, which I think the lay people don't need to know. And then the other one, we also shorten it and we call it HHS, hyperosmolar hyperglycemic syndrome.
You're ready.
So so for that one, the sugar is extremely high.
Okay.
But the HHS most of the time occurs in those who have type 2 diabetes. And for them, it is a gradual onset. And most of the time, it happens in elderly people or people who are bedridden or people who don't have bedridden or elderly, or maybe it can even be somebody who is has a psychiatric problem, for instance.
Okay.
So they may not be able to tell you readily that, oh, I have a problem, I feel this way, or I'm not drinking enough water. So for them, the main problem is dehydration. So if the person is bedridden or is sick and is lying in bed, and you have to be feeding the person all the time, you have to, and they can't go for the water themselves. That is a problem. Yes, so they have to be drinking because the sugar becomes so much. And maybe they are not also taking their medications. Sugar becomes so much, it draws water out of their body. So they are peeing a lot, but we are not replenishing it.
Wow.
So it gets to a point, it goes to the brain and all that. It can even cause a fit and all that. The hypoglycemia can also cause a seizure.
Wow.
It can also actually cause people to behave like they are mad. The hypoglycemia.
May God have mercy on us. Like I said, it's the 7th deadliest illness or disease in the world right now, killing over 150 million people for the past 20 years. Now, I'll see something they call pre-diabetes. Maybe I don't know whether that one is a type 1 or something.
So pre-diabetes just means that you are about to become diabetic. Yes.
Now,
just like the pre-hypertension.
Okay.
So you can reverse that.
You can reverse it
with diet and exercise. It is reversible. Yeah.
Asymptomatic.
Even type 2 diabetes. Most of the time, you are advised to control it with diet and exercise.
Okay.
For some time. So if you have a particular doctor taking care of you, they will follow you. If they realize that it's not correcting with the diet and exercise, then they put you on the medication.
So diabetes, whether type 1 or type 2, is it curable? Can you?
No, it's not curable.
When you identify diabetes,
it's just like hypertension. Once you get it,
till you die.
But the very, very obese people, that one, the obesity is bringing on the hypertension and the diabetes. So when you lose the weight, those people are lucky, but I don't know why they don't try to lose their weight.
Hang on, no. So the more they call for food.
Yeah, but you have to make an effort. Would you rather be taking 10 drugs a day and be fat because you want to eat what you want to eat?
True.
So if you are young and you are big, you have to make an effort to lose the weight and keep it down. Because when you grow older, and even there are very, very big people who don't have any issues. They don't have any problem with cholesterol, sugar, and hypertension.
Yeah.
That is the best.
Okay, let me come back to this. I don't know whether it's because it sounds scary. That is why I'm doing that. Which of them is not curable? Is it a type 2 or type 1?
They are all not curable.
So,
but if it is type 2 and you are able to use diet and exercise, then you can become normal. So as I was saying about the hyperglycemia, so we've talked about the hypoglycemia. The hyperglycemia, the HHS, is because of dehydration a lot of the time. So once you hydrate the person well, the person comes, you give IV fluids, you hydrate. You can't also do it in an hour. It's over time. Everything, like I said, the body doesn't just respond fast. Everything has to be gradual. So it's just like attitude. You develop an attitude over, let's say, 2 years. It will take you about the same amount of time to reverse, to stop acting that way. So everything is a learned thing. So your body learns to accommodate, let's say, so much sugar. So when you are correcting it to, it has to be a gradual process. But the most important thing is that you have come to the hospital. And aside that, there are certain also imbalances in your body that has to be corrected. The type 1 is the diabetic ketoacidosis. That one, your fat is breaking down all the time. So we check your urine and then we see signs of that. And that one, I think that one makes the person more sick. Yeah. And that one can kill. I think that one can kill faster.
Wow.
So now, because of management, and you need insulin to manage that one, even the HHS too, at some point you may need insulin. But most of the time, because it's dehydration, fluids can sort of correct it. But you need insulin, a bit of insulin. But the type 1, the DK, that one is insulin and fluids, of course. A lot of fluid, and they are very, very sick.
Very, very sick.
Yeah.
Look, last week you mentioned to us that those who contract this hypertension can even occur during pregnancy. What about this one?
So people also get gestational diabetes. That is pregnancy-induced diabetes. That's too when the babies come out. sometimes it corrects.
Oh, okay.
But for some of them to go on to become diabetic.
Hey.
But the sad aspect about this gestational diabetes or pregnancy-induced diabetes is that the babies, because the woman has a lot of sugar all the time, the babies become very, very big. So the baby might be delivered through cesarean section, or if the mother even pushes out the baby, most of the time we have to keep an eye on the baby's sugar, because babies or children in general have a problem with hypoglycemia.
Oh, okay. They
don't have enough fat storage and those things, so they can easily tip into hypoglycemia. So those babies, once they will come and tell you when they deliver, that baby immediately goes to the mother baby unit, and they always tell the doctor this one is a big baby from a diabetic mother or gestational diabetes. So it means that we have to have an eagle eye on the baby, checking the sugar, correcting the sugar all the time, until the body gets used to it, because they are used to high sugar in their mother's system, eating all the time. So when they come out, you have to keep an eye on them, or else they can just die.
Oh, really?
So that is one of the downsides. So diabetes is not funny. I don't know whether you choose hypertension over diabetes or diabetes, but neither of those two are funny.
Yeah. I mean, this is very scary. Okay, so you also taught us that the hypertension can even cause stroke, and even this diabetes you're talking about. What about the diabetes? Can it also cause stroke, or only other?
Yeah, so there are people who have, like I said, the diabetes can lead to hypertension, so it can cause stroke. At the same time, it also affects diabetes in general, reduces your immunity.
Okay,
so diabetes, you can get infections easily, and most of the time when a diabetic gets an infection of any sort, either pneumonia or urinary tract infection or whatever, it causes the sugar to shoot up, and it causes them to be very sick. So I would say diabetes is a bit more dangerous than hypertension, though.
Oh, wow.
But neither of them too is good, because
it's something you can wish for yourself. Doc, I know our time is fast spent. I mean, thank you very much. But let me find out this, probably my last question. Can it be transferable, apart from the genetic? Can it be transferable from human to human?
No.
Okay.
It's non-communicable.
Okay.
Hypertension, diabetes are non-communicable diseases.
Okay.
It's not an infection.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So one of the complications too is impotence in men.
Is it that type 2 or type 1?
Diabetes. Diabetes. Yes. It causes impotence. So it means that not everybody gets the impotence. It doesn't. It's not the 100%. Once you are diabetic, you are impotent. No, it's not like that. It can cause kidney failure.
Kidney failure.
Yeah, the same with hypertension. It can cause kidney failure. Diabetes. So you have to, for diabetes, both of them actually, hypertension and diabetes, you have to be doing regular checks. So that they will be checking your kidneys, they will be checking your cholesterol, they will be checking your feet for you, they will be checking your eyes, because it can affect your eyes.
Okay.
You have to be checking your heart, because it can affect your heart. You have to be checking if you are a man too. So I didn't mention this, for the hypertension, some of the drugs also cause impotence.
Oh, okay.
So if you're a man and you realize that the drugs that you are taking are causing, or since you became hypertensive, you have to tell your doctor, so that maybe his mind was not drawn to it, so he prescribed that particular medication, so he can change it.
Okay.
Diabetes too, it can be sorted out. It's not like definitely you will become impotent.
Okay. So that is why.
But that one is not from the drug; it's from the sickness.
Okay. So, in fact, so with all that you are saying, the most important thing is to always be frequently visiting the hospital to know your level, whether you are pre-diabetic, you are already into it. Apart from even the diabetes, all that we have mentioned, the most important thing is frequently knowing your health status.
In fact, the prescription for avoiding any disease in this world is actually eating well and exercising.
Eating well.
It is free.
Exercise.
God has given us that free gift. Eating well and exercising. Most of the diseases, of course. I can't say all of them because the type 1 is not their fault. So exercise and eating well will not really help them. But so there are some researchers that have also, people are researching, and I don't know if you've heard of intermittent fasting. Yeah, intermittent fasting.
Now, please explain it to our viewers.
So that is when you deprive yourself of eating. So it's fasting, actually.
Fasting, yeah.
But it's not the
dry fasting that we know.
Yes, and it's some have not dry fasting, but there are different forms. Some say the 4:3.
Okay.
4:3 means you eat 4 times a week normally.
Oh, okay.
Then 4 days in the week you eat normally, and the rest of the 3 days you don't eat at all. But of course you can drink water and some tea without milk and sugar and all those things.
Okay.
Then some also say intermittent fasting is a daily thing that they do, but they eat within a window period. So the person does the 16 hours is to 8 hours one. So they fast for 16 hours and they eat within an 8-hour window where they eat anything that they want. Actually, the intermittent fasting helps in weight loss as well.
Oh, okay.
So if you are just a normal person and you are not cutting down on the things that you eat, you can do the 16 hours to the 8-hour thing without really reducing your calories, if you like. So something like the 16 hours to 8 hours, that means from 6 p.m. to 10 a.m. the next day you don't eat.
Okay.
Then you eat from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Okay.
So you can eat anything at any time. One lay person who was trying to explain it was saying that the benefit of that for diabetics, and they realized read some researches on it. Some PhD people have done it, and they are researching on it seriously, and people have actually attested to the benefits of that. So what they do is that what it does for the body is that you give your body 16 hours to rest and repair. Then the body, you eat within that time. So now your body gets used to the fact that Francis eats between 10 and 6 p.m. So let me release insulin between 10 and 6 p.m. After 10 to 6 p.m. no insulin is released. The rest is repair what has been destroyed. But if you are eating all the time, some people even wake up in the night and eat, which is not the normal thing that God has created us to do. Your body is always being bombarded with food, so your body gets confused. So it's like there's food, let me just release the insulin. So they think that it may also be a cause of the insulin resistance. You understand? Because if you are beating a child all the time, it will get to a point the behavior that you are trying to stop, he will do it more because he's used to it. So the same way, you are throwing insulin all the time, so the body goes like, insulin and crime, let me do what I like. So there's insulin resistance, sort of. But they think that the benefits with intermittent fasting is that you give your body this time, it releases insulin. So the insulin now becomes more, your body now responds to the insulin better. So they realize that intermittent fasting actually helps your body to now become more sensitive to insulin. So for the type 2 people, for instance, when they have insulin but the body is not picking the sensation that is there, so with intermittent fasting they start picking it. So now some of them are taking off their drugs gradually.
Oh wow. That is really,
but that is an ongoing research, but people are actually practicing it and getting the benefits from it. And then within that time too, you can cut down on the things that are highly caloric. So you can cut down the bad carbohydrates, for instance. So you choose the foods that have the low glycemic index, and then you eat more vegetables, so that your body will also get more nutrients, and then you stay away from processed foods. So I think that is one of the ways that some people are reversing their diabetes.
Wow. And I think this option is less expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I believe that I don't know, it takes discipline though, but we can really do this. Yeah. Thank you very much, Doc.
And I send my word.
God has sent his word through Dr. Irene to heal us. This one is a physical healing. Just obey and you shall be healed.
This is his word.
Our time is up. Thank you all very much for joining us this evening on Your Health, Our Concern.
The Lord.
Before we pray, I'll find out from Doc if she has last words for us, or maybe there's something critical that she wants to mention to us before we pray and end tonight's session.
I am the Lord.
What I'll say is that let's try to just eat the right things, and let's read about our food generally.
Okay.
Research into it. It's important that we read about what we eat, and also try as much as possible to exercise. I mean, somebody would say that, hey, Dr. Ijamo, exercise, I sleep a lot. I don't exercise. I know the right thing. I'm a preacher who doesn't do what I preach, but it's important that we try to keep our weight down, and the things that we put into our mouth, we have to watch it, so that we will grow old and healthy, and not old with about 10 pills in front of us. So I think that it's when you start now, by then you get used to it. It's a blessing. Sometimes it's a blessing to see an elderly woman who is like 90 something. They'll tell Dr. Mini Bibia and Pasoni Bibia, and I wish that I'll grow up to be like that. I've seen a 95-year-old woman who was walking briskly. She came to the hospital. She didn't
95.
have any. 95. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, but then you see 30-year-olds, 20-year-olds who are obese. They are on this medication. They are on that medication. And how will you live your whole life taking drugs? If you started now, it means that by the time you are that old, your drugs will be plenty. So I think that we should make an effort. That's all.
Wow, make an effort.
That healeth me.
Must exercise always be at dawn?
No. It should be when you can
When you
afford
can.
to do it.
Very important. I know our time is up, but I wanted to really ask this question so that people don't say that because I woke up and I wanted to dodge traffic, so I don't have time to exercise.
Lord, my healer.
You can
Try.
do it before you sleep.
Before you sleep.
You sent your word.
Thank you very much, dear viewers, for joining us this evening. We see you same time next week, Monday, exactly 6 p.m. My name is Francis Osei. I've been your host this evening. God bless you so much, Dr. Prah. We hope to see you again.
You're welcome.
And to all our cherished viewers and listeners, may God continue to protect you, heal you from whether type 1 or type 2. And we pray that may the Lord give you wisdom, especially as you are having some indisciplined attitude of eating. May God grant you the wisdom to really check your diet and grant you wisdom and healing. And God bless us all. We meet the same time next week. God bless us all, and bye-bye.
Restoration, it is the day of our transformation, it is the day that